Hi friends, and welcome to Gilded Loop. My name is Matt, and I'm so excited because today I'm going to be bringing you a project that I recently chatted about. So a few videos ago I did a video on this, the Red Heart all-in-one quilt motif yarn that recently came out. They started out with doing the granny square yarn. Personally, wasn't a fan, couldn't get to line up that great. And then they recently came out with this quilt motif yarn. Loved it. Was able to get it to line up just right. And today I'm going to be bringing you a video tutorial on how to make the squares. And we're also going to be doing a project for a pattern for a pillow. It's a 20 by 20 size pillow, and I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like in just a moment. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into that. Here is the pillow. This is in the color Heirloom. So the quilt motif in Heirloom. It is cream. This is 4 squares. Square 1, 2, 3, and 4. We have oatmeal, cream, gray, and charcoals. And this is what it looks like all melded up together. On the backing, I did just gray with ribbing to hold it all together. I followed the pattern that is available on Yarnspirations website, which I will have linked in the description here below. For the most part, I do freehand and vary. Like the border here, I freehanded and did my own style. The ribbing, I probably did a little bit differently than what they had in their pattern. But for the most part, I did go ahead and follow the pattern pretty closely, other than those few variations. I think that this makes a really fantastic pillow for like a bed. And again, this is a pillow cover. You buy the foam pillow that goes on the inside, which I just got from Amazon. And I just found a 20 by 20 pillow. And I did 4 squares. The yarn ball gives you enough yarn for 5 squares. But I used what I had left to make this lip border out of just 3 rows of single crochet. Or actually, yeah, 3 rows of single crochet. And that's what kind of holds it all together. So this is how much yarn I had left over. After all was said and done, almost nothing. I just had a little bit of white and a little bit of the oatmeal color left. So one ball, or not ball, but one skein of this quilt motif will make you an entire pillow. Now that doesn't count the backing. I just had a skein of the Red Heart Super Saver Jumbo. I did not use the whole skein. I used about half, so you might be able to get by with one regular size skein of Red Heart Super Saver, but I think you're probably just going to go a little bit over one skein, just a hair over. So I would say just get one of the jumbos, just so you have enough, and you'll definitely have some left over. If you're like me, you have probably some Red Heart already on tap here. This is a pretty affordable project to do as well. One skein of the quilt motif is $9.99. However, they're always running sales. You should be able to get it between $7.50 and $8, at least $8 for one skein of that. The Red Heart Super Saver Jumbo, Walmart sells them for $7.48. And I think on Yarnspirations are $9.99. So $7.48, $8, and the pillow insert is $10. So realistically, you're looking at $25 to make this pillow. $25 for a really lovely gift. If someone were to get this, I think they would really like it. So stay tuned. Follow me. I will do the tutorial on how to make the individual square first. That will be in this video. And then in this video as well, at the end, I will show you how to seam the 4 squares together. And then part 2, which I'll have posted at the exact same time, will be the backing, including the ribbing, and the final border, and putting the final project together. So sorry for the 2 parts, but you wouldn't want to have one video that's like forever long. So we're going to have 2 videos. This video that you're watching right now is how to do the square and how to seam the 4 squares together. And part 2 is your backing and putting it all together. So follow along with me, and let's go ahead and make this pillow. Okay, we're going to go ahead and work on putting one of these squares together. So this is, again, the Red Heart quilt motif, and we're doing this in the colorway Heirloom. This is the most neutral colorway in my opinion, and I really liked it. So I have already made 3 squares, so we just need to make the 4th. Remember, each skein makes 5 squares, so you will have some extra yarn. Now you can choose to use the extra yarn that you have on the edges, or you can do the edges in your backing yarn. It's completely up to you. Either one is going to make an interesting look. Okay, so let's look at the 3 that we have so far. Here's my 3, and here's my quilt motif forming. You can see the 4th one here is just the last piece. Again, each one of these squares is just about 10 inches. It's showing me 9.5 inches, but mine are probably just slightly smaller because I used the slightly smaller hook size. But they'll stretch to the 10 inches. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over how to do this. So first thing you're going to have, I have some white left over, and this is from when I ended the square. I end the square on this side, so I had some extra white left over. No matter what size hook that you have, they do build in, so you have a little bit of white left over. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm coming down here and I'm clipping off this white. I don't need it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with this oatmeal color, and you can leave yourself a small tail. Okay, you don't want to have too long of a tail though, because you are really going to kind of need this. Actually, I probably have a little too long of a tail there. Let's fix that to have a little bit shorter of a tail. And that's about right based on the ones that I've done. So not a huge tail. We're talking about 4 inches on your tail. 4 to 5 inches on your tail should be fine. All right, so we're going to be doing a C to C pattern. Now C to C is very simple. I'm going to walk you through it, but I'm also going to walk you through how to make sure that this comes out correctly. Your tension is everything, and you might have to go back and do a little bit tighter tension, or go back and do a little bit looser tension depending on where things are falling, and you'll see that as we go through. Again, for me, the 5mm hook is what worked. They do recommend the 5.5. However, unless you are the world's tightest crocheter, the 5.5 is going to be difficult for you. If you are a very tight crocheter, try the 5.5. If you're not super tight, you are going to want the 5. I am not a super tight crocheter, so I'm going with the 5. 1. You're going to do a chain of 6. 2, 3. When I chain to my 3rd, I just want to put my finger on that 3rd one, because I'm going to be coming back to work into that. 4, 5, and 6. So I've chained 6. I'm going to yarn over, and I'm doing a double crochet into this 3rd chain from loop. That's why I put my finger on it, so I can go right back into it easily. And do a double crochet. And do a double crochet in this one and in this one. Okay, you have just worked your first cluster. So your cluster is going to look like almost like 4 double crochets. One's going to be your turning chain and 3 double crochets. Okay, you're going to chain 6 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yarn over, go back into that third one and do a double. Do another double into the next loop and do a double into that third loop here. Now you chain 6 anytime that you're increasing. There is a pattern for this. I will link it. It's on Yarnspirations website. It's a free pattern. So if you need a pattern to follow, but I'm going to walk you through step by step if you're not a pattern following person. Me personally, I need diagrams, and there is a diagram on there. So I really appreciate Yarnspirations for doing that. All right, so what I did, I have my second cluster here. I flipped my first one on its side here, so it's kind of mirroring up against this, right? Remember, this was my turning chain. So remember how we said we have 3 double crochets, and then we have that turning chain. That's the space. You're going in between that turning chain, and when you start to do those 3 doubles here, and you're doing a slip stitch, and you're just pulling that on through, and that has just connected those 2 pieces. Okay? Here, you're going to chain 3. So when you're connecting those pieces, you're only chaining 3, versus where you're increasing is where you're chaining 6. Hopefully that makes sense. So I just connected those 2 pieces, so I'm just chaining my 3. And then in this space that I just connected, that turning chain that we connected onto, I'm going to do 3 double crochets into that space. All into the same space. So yarn over, double. My tail's kind of getting in the way there. Double. I promise it gets easier as you go through. Double. Okay? So we have 3 clusters. 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm not connecting this one to another cluster right here, so I'm increasing. So I need to chain 6. So 1, 2, 3. I'll put my finger on that. 4, 5, and 6. And I'm going to yarn over and go back into that one I just had my finger on. And zoom up a little bit for us here. Okay. Do my double crochets in each of these loops. All right, now I have another cluster here. There's my 3 double crochets, and this is my turning chain. So it looks a little wonky because you need to turn your work. And now I'm facing the right direction. So I have these 3 double crochets, and this was that chain. So now I'm going to go in between that space just like I did before, and I'm going to slip stitch to connect. And I'm going to chain 3. Okay, go ahead and work 3 double crochets into this open space here that we just connected to. Now sometimes your needle or your hook might want to like latch onto this. You can just kind of tuck this out of the way while you're doing this. Okay, so I've done my 3 double crochets and I had my chain here. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and connect to this one here. So I have my space here, slip stitch, 1, 2, 3, and do 3 double crochets into that space there. 1, 2, and 3. So if you're trying to count your rows now, we have 3. First row is this, second row is this, third row is this. On my finished ones, I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4. So I know I have one more row to go. So I'm going to be increasing now, so I need to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Go back into that third one, do a double crochet, a double in each loop that I just chained. I promise, once you get the hang of this, it's so repetitive, it's like, it's second nature. It goes so quick. So again, I'm turning my work, and I'm slip stitching into that loop here, chaining 3, and I'm going to do 3 double crochets into that space. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going across a row here, so I'm not increasing yet, so I'm going to be able to just slip stitch and connect there, chain 3. Oh, that was a little loose. And I'm going to go do my 3 doubles into this space. Now, each time we're coming to the end of a color, I'm just going to try to take it to the very end, and we'll see where we find ourselves. I might find myself having to go back in and tighten up my work or loosen it up a little bit. So just chain 3, and I'm going to go ahead and do 3 doubles here. 1, 2, 3. Here's where we're at. I have found myself with just this much left. Okay, so what that tells me is that I'm going to have to go back through and pull out just a couple of these clusters. I'm probably going to pull out these 3 clusters, and I'm just going to do them a little looser to use up some of this, so I end up on the correct spot. So I'm just pulling out these 3 clusters. Get used to this because you're going to be doing this throughout your project. When you first start this, you're going to begin to feel a little frustrated, but once you get your tension down, you're going to find you're landing almost exactly where you need to be. You might have to pull out 1 cluster, but you're going to be really close to where you need to be. So I have to go looser, so I'm just going to have my tension a lot looser. And I'm going to redo these clusters. I'm not doing anything differently. I'm just literally trying to make these a little bit looser so I can use up some of that yarn. I didn't have a ton left over, just a little bit. So by going a little bit looser here, it's going to fix that issue. Okay, slip stitch here. I'm going to go pretty loose in this last one. 1, 2, doing a little bit better. I have 1 more. See? I find myself with just that little bit left over. So this time I'm just going to pull out 2. I promise once you get past this first color, it's a little bit easier. So we're going to go pretty loose here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you can see that last one's pretty darn loose, but we got it to end right where it needs to end. Okay, So you might have a little bit of bleed over, but just know when you sew these up together, it'll hide some of that. So now our next color that we're going into is white or cream. So we're going to go ahead and we're increasing. So we're going to chain 6, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and do your double crochets into your third chain. I'm going to grab myself a little bit more yarn and a double crochet into this next one, and then the double crochet into this first one. Okay, I'm going to turn my work here and connect the pieces. Okay, chain 3, and we're going to go ahead and work these clusters. There's my 3 clusters. I'm going to attach here, chain 3, work 3 more clusters into this space. Attach here, 2, 3 chain, we'll work 3 more clusters, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, attach here, chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I did my first row of the second color. The one thing that actually really helped me is each of the ball bands have a picture of the colorway that you're working with, and you can just glance at that real quick and be able to see exactly where your color should be falling or where you should be doing a turn. So if I'm looking at this, this shows me pretty quickly that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of that color, and then I have 3 rows of this white. So I can just glance at that real quickly and know exactly how many rows I'm doing without having to look at the pattern. That's one thing about C2C. Once you get it down pat, you're not staring at the pattern. You just need to know what color change you need to start decreasing on, but we're still increasing. So we've done 1 row, we're going to do 2 more. Go ahead and I'm going to meet you at the top of this 3rd row of the white. Continue to follow exactly what we were just doing. Okay, so I'm on my 3rd row here. I just finished my 2nd to last cluster. Just kind of going into this last cluster here. So let's go ahead and connect these with a slip. Chain 3, and I've got to do 3 double crochets into the space. This is how much yarn I have. And I got to get 3 double crochets out of that. I think I can do it. 1, 2. Look at that. I told you, once you get past that first color, you tend to, like, you have your attention down, and I find I'm landing like, that's a money shot right there. I landed just right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go into my next color. Going into my gray, and what this is showing me here is that I have 2 rows of gray. I have found that the ones that are just 2 rows do tend to be a little bit, you have to go a little bit tighter on those ones. But anyway, so let's chain 6, because we're increasing, and go back into this 3rd chain. Okay. Chain here. Not chain, but double crochet. So I've double crocheted. Oh, I made a mistake. I went into the same loop twice. It's okay. Pull it out. Fix it. Okay, so I have my cluster here. I'm going to turn my work. I'm going to go ahead and connect with a slip stitch and chain 3, and we're just going to do our 3 double crochets into this open space, just like that. All right, and we're going to go ahead and work down the row. So we're on our 3rd color, work down here, increase, and work down here, and I'll meet you at the end of the gray. Okay, so I have worked my 2nd row almost. I've done my last cluster, 2nd to last cluster, and I have to do this last cluster, and look at all this gray that I have left. I might have gone a little too tight, but we don't know. We'll see. So let's try it. I think I'm going to try to do this one a little looser, just because I feel like I have a lot of gray left. Yep. So what I'm going to do, with about that much, I can fib into 3 clusters. So I'm just going to pull out these 3 clusters and redo those, the last 3. So I'm going to do them just looser. With a C to C pattern, there's a lot of scrunch in it. It kind of scrunches down. So there's ones that you have to do a little bit looser, a little bit tighter. It's very forgiving with that. So don't worry about it. I do plan pooling work too, and I had to learn to forgive myself a little bit for having to go a little looser and a little tighter sometimes, so kind of got myself in a regimen and used to that. So when it came to this, it doesn't bother me as much. I know some people are like, oh, I got to have everything at the same tension. And I'm like, oh, I had to get a little bit more willy-nilly when I learned to do plan pooling. I'm just going to pull out 2 now and make sure those are real loose. 1, 2, 3. And if you're looking at your screen right now and you say, what is plan pooling? It's where you do stitches with the yarn to make the colors fall in a specific pattern, usually giving it like an argyle look. But don't you worry, I do it. And whatever I do, y'all know I bring to this channel, so I have some yarn on order to do some demos on it. Going real loose. Oh my gosh. Probably should have put out 4 clusters initially, but you live and you learn. I was doing some of these clusters a lot tighter because I couldn't remember if this was the color that you had to or not. You know what? That's close enough. I have this little tiny tail. It's fine. 2, 3. 4, 5, 6. I'll go back in. Start this cluster. I don't know why this one doesn't bother me as much as the granny square yarn did. I always lose my patience with that yarn. C2Cs are just like, I don't know, C2C is like therapy for me. When I need to work on something and I just need to do something where I absolutely don't have to think about my stitch pattern at all. I don't got to look at a pattern. I can literally just go off muscle memory. And it's a C2C. It's just so easy. And yet always looks impressive. All right. So we started into our next color. So you can see that that extra little bit shows a little bit here, but you got to remember that this is going to be seamed up on this side, so don't fret about it. All right, so we're in our third color. So we did the grays. This last color, you can see, is the last color that we do before we make a turn. And I have 1, 2, 3 rows of that. You can also kind of see it here. So I'm going to be doing 3 rows of this. So finish this row, go to your next one, you're going to do your third, and I'll meet you at the end of that third. And then we're going to start to decrease, and we'll go over that. All right, so this one was the colorway that it felt like I had to go a little bit tighter on my tension. Because honestly, I just tried to make it down this third row, and I didn't make it all the way down. Not even to the last cluster. Got a little bit of white left over here, and I've got 3 more clusters to go. So what I did was I did my tension normal on my first 2 rows, and then this third row I did my tension super tight to make sure that I can make it. So when I say super tight, I'm going to show you what I mean. So I'm pulling the slip stitch through, and I'm holding this, and I'm chaining my 3 like it's a super tight. And I am just like almost pulling it to make sure that I'm getting super tight in there, because I don't have a whole lot of yarn to work with. I'm like, I knew that there was one color in here that's like, you definitely got to have your tension be a little bit tighter. That's one of the things about this all-in-one yarn. It's like your tension can't be the same on every color. So you have to figure out what does work. I might have gone a little too tight because I got all this yarn left. I think I did. So I'm just going to loosen this one square. And I'll work this one like normal. Yeah, I think I should be good. This last one, I think I can probably go like normal. Yep. Ending just about where I wanted to end. 2, 3. Oh, actually, we can tighten this up just a little bit because we're going to be decreasing. 2. When we're decreasing, I'm okay with having a little bit of a tail like that. So we are halfway through our project. We finished this. Now we're coming up on this next color. In that, you can see the square is turning there. See that? So now I know I'm going to be doing my decrease. So when you decrease, turn your work. So you're not chaining, you're just turning your work. And you are going to put your hook through. And you're just going to slip stitch. Put your hook through and slip stitch. Put your hook through into this open gap here. Slip stitch, and then you're going to chain 3. You will not chain 6 anymore throughout the rest of this project. Only chaining 3 when you're decreasing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and work my 3 doubles, 2 and 3. And we're working this like charcoal color now. Okay, and there's 2 rows of this. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, go ahead and work your charcoal color clusters. And we're just going to meet at the end of this row. There is 2 rows, but we're going to meet at the end of this row so I can show you the decrease on this side. Okay, so you can see we've worked our charcoals almost all the way down. Let's go ahead and work this last cluster. So slip stitch, 3, and work your 3 double crochets here. Now you're going to have an urge to try to do what we've been doing so far, which is do another cluster here, but we're not because we're decreasing. So I just slip stitched into this, and I'm going to turn my work. We're going to do that same thing. We're going to do 2 slip stitches here, and then into this open space, a slip, and chain 3. And do our doubles. 1, 2. All right, let's set our work down. So you can see what I just did. You can see a defined corner now. And here's your defined corner over here. So now we were coming up this whole time, and we're going to be starting to go up this way. So we're going to continue to work clusters until we come down here. We're going to end right here. Meet you there. All right, so I'm down to my last cluster. Now I worked my tension just kind of normal on this charcoal roll. I didn't go tight, I didn't go super loose. And I've got one more cluster to go, and just how much I have left for my color change. I think I can make it work, but let's see. I'm going to chain 3. I just slip stitch to attach. And I'm going to do my 3 double crochets. Just going to do this like normal and see where we land. We're going to run out. So we ran out just a little bit. So I'm just going to go back to this section. And I'm just going to tighten up just a little bit. Not super tight, but just enough to make it. Voila, just made it. Okay. Boom. There we go. So just be willing to go back if you need to. Now I'm actually probably going to go back a little bit further because I don't like how some of that white is shining through. I'm just going to make this just a smidge tighter. Again, don't be afraid to go back when you need to, especially when you're on these decreases. There we go. I feel much more comfortable with that. No real white shining through. And I'm going to have some white here on the side. But, you know, it's not the end of the world. Again, I can work that through a seam. It doesn't have to be perfect. I could go back through and tighten things up a little bit further to not have that little bit there, but it doesn't bother me. I'm okay. All right. So I'm continuing to go down on this decrease, and now I'm finished with the charcoal, and we're going back to the cream color. Okay. That's my second cluster. So let's kind of take a glance again. So this has 1, 2, 3, rows. Okay, so I got 3 rows of this. Now, by the way, the pattern to this is also inside the ball band, if it's easier for you. All right, so we're going to have 3 rows of this. Now remember, you're going to come down to this last one. You're going to come up just like we have been because we're on decreases now. And you're going to come down, and each one is just going to be coming up a little bit like this. So let's work till that 3rd row, and I'll meet you back there. All right. So I came to the end of my 3rd row of the white, and look, boom, I have 1.5 inches left. So I should be able to just pull out this cluster and go a little bit looser. I don't have to go super loose, but just a little bit. Okay, 1, 2, whoops, and I just repeated exactly what I had left, so that tells me I gotta pull out 2. Okay. Going into the very last cluster. 1. Oh, I keep on grabbing that one little strand of yarn that's hanging on by there. Gosh. Boy, that's stubborn. Well, I am decreasing so I can make it up. Fudge it a little bit if you will. 1, 2, 3. All right. Oh, we're starting our ending color here. So we are just working this color until we get to the very end. Okay. Now, if you are wondering how long one of these squares really takes, I would say the first time that you're working on it, plan an hour to get the square done. But you're getting used to your tension and everything like that. I made, obviously, if you saw my video where I did the swatches on a bunch of these different colors. If you haven't, be sure to check that out. But I kind of got really used to doing these quilt motifs, if you will. And they take me about 30 minutes each. Now, I don't know, maybe you're really fast and you got me beat. Congratulations if you do. But it take me about a half hour. You know, you can see I'm just kind of like going through the motions here on these. But as you're trying to just figure out your tension that first time, first couple really, plan to give yourself an hour. Once you got it down pat, you'll be able to whip one of these squares out in a half an hour, for sure. For sure. So, if you are trying to figure out how long is this project going to take me? For the pillow, there's 4 squares on the front. So that's 2 hours to make the squares. The backing, probably another 2 hours. And then just seaming everything together. So if you plug away on through it and you're trying to get a gift together for somebody, you can do one of these in a whole day. I mean, it's going to be like 4, 5 hours of work. But yeah, you can absolutely get through one of these in a day. I tend to do a lot of my projects while I'm doing other things. So, taking my kid to the doctor, or waiting in the waiting room, I'm working on something. at work sitting through a meeting virtually and not in front of other people. I'm working on stuff. You know, that kind of thing. I really do think this quilt motif will make a beautiful blanket. And I am planning, did I just double crochet that? Undoing one. Oh, I fibbed. This is not your last color run. Because we're not ending on oatmeal, we're ending on white. We start on oatmeal, so. But hey, I got it to end right where I wanted it to, so yay me. All right. So chaining 3. We're on the white now. Now we're on our last colorway. Thanks for tuning in and watching this whole thing if you are. If not, and you're just jumping to the sections that you need, then hey, thanks for tuning in as well. Be sure to check out part 2, which is the backing and the piecing together. But I know I did these videos in 2 parts because some people might just want to be coming here to see how this quilt motif square works without having to watch the whole tutorial on this whole pillow that I'm making from this. And so if that's you, great. But if you are making the pillow along with me, then be sure to check out part 2 so you can see how to do the backing and the piecing together of everything. If you are not making the pillow, but you just want to see how to piece these squares together, I do show you how to do that in part 2. All right, so we're just about to wrap up here. Coming down to this last cluster here, I just turned. I'm going to do my slip stitches here to decrease. Remember, on your last color, they give you a little bit of extra yarn at the end, so don't worry so much about your tension. It really doesn't matter on this one because it's your ending color. This is my last cluster that I'm working right here. And just slip stitch that on. And then I do want to come back through and do these slips just like I'm decreasing. I'm going to come back in this last one, and then that's the end. And I'm just going to pull this on through and tighten up. So you only have this end and this end to weave in. That's it. This is how much I have left in the ball band, which is exactly enough for one more skein. However, I'm really debating with making this pillow if I just use this for the side seaming. We'll see. Let's look at this quilt motif. Okay, so now that we have all the pieces, now we will be seaming this together, and I'll show you how to do that. But this is your quilt motif. So this is my pillow. This is going to be the front of my pillow. This is exactly the way I want it to look. However, if you prefer, you can flip and have it look like that. Okay, so whichever one you prefer, you can have it to be start out with this cream in the center, and then just have the corners be this kind of oatmeal color. But personally, I like the oatmeal in the center. For my pillow, at least. Now, if I were doing an oatmeal backing, maybe, but I'm not. I'm doing this color for my backing. Now, if you're making the pillow along with me, you pick whatever color you want for the backing. This is oatmeal. This is cream. This is like a gray heather, or just like a medium gray. This is charcoal. So you can really pick whichever one. Yarn Inspirations recommends whatever color you have here, but like I said, it doesn't. You can pick whichever one that you like. I am putting it together like this, and I am picking this gray color for my backing. If I were braver, I would have done the whole backing in the cream color and just have whatever the main color here is be on the back. However, I'm not brave enough to have a white pillow because I will get it messed up or something, or one of my kids will spill something on it. So I'm erring on the side of caution. But anyway, so that is how you do that. Next, we're going to go over how to seam this up. Now, to seam this up, the best thing to use to seam is going to be whatever your primary color is for the majority of everything. Now, my primary color is this cream. I don't have a Red Heart Super Saver in the cream color. However, I do have a Premier Basics. And so I'm going to use what I have. I have a Red Heart Super Saver white. But as you can see, this cream color matches where white does not. White is stark difference. So I'm going to use this cream for the seaming of everything. And we're going to go over that next. So go ahead and get yourself a needle. And I just fold my yarn in half and work on pulling that through. Okay, and just so I just have a small tail here. You want to give yourself a good amount of yarn, at least enough to get through all of this. I want to be able to go from here all the way up to the top of here. So I can go one continuous thing. So let's go ahead and get started. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and pull your yarn through just this first loop here. We're going to go ahead and let's zoom up a little bit closer. Okay, let me pull this through on this side. Okay, so I know it's going to be a little hard to see, so hopefully we can kind of see together. We want to make sure that we're not going through both loops. What I mean by that is going through both. We want to just get the loop on this one side. That way it's really not coming through to the other side. So we're going to pull that on through. Okay, so here we have like this. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go through here. I'm going to be alternating sides and coming through over here and pulling through. Sorry if my hands are in the way a little bit here. Just make sure that you are staying on one side of your work. And you want to just, you can go through a couple seams. This is more of my own kind of invisible rather than the full mattress is where you like pull it. I'm not doing all of that. So I'm just making sure, first and foremost, that I am staying on just one side of the project and I'm pulling through. And as you can see, I'm working this side to this side. I'm not kind of alternating back and forth. Okay. Because one side of this pillow is going to be the inside of the pillow. We're not going to see it again. Now, if you prefer the mattress stitch, there's lots of videos out there that speak specifically to that, but I'm just trying to keep this simple. Just make sure we keep it on one side of the project, specifically for what I'm trying to do here, which is making this pillow. Okay. And we're going to continue to do this up the project. It's more important than ever to make sure that it is solely on one side when you're in a color that doesn't match the yarn that you're using for the seaming, which is what I'm in right now. I just really want to make sure it doesn't show up on the other side. And you just kind of take your time as you pull through. So here, that one's going to show up on the other side. I want to make sure that I'm just sticking to the stitches that are on this side. I also want to make sure I'm matching the squares up perfectly. So if you were making a blanket, I would say you really want to make sure you're doing more of a mattress stitch, which is a slight variation from this. This isn't really the mattress stitch. But I'm doing a pillow, so it's not as important for me. I'm just making sure I'm just sewing these up using all the stitches on this side, which will be the inside of my pillow. So go ahead and work on that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch this all the way up this middle seam. So I'm going to do that and I'll meet you right back. Okay, so I finished seaming just all the way down the center here. And I made sure that I'm doing just in the back loop only, so it's not going to show in the front. You can see I just have this one little string that's kind of going through the center. Now, this works for pillows. You really want to make sure you're following a mattress stitch, which this is not what I'm showing. I'm showing an invisible seam for the front, but not for the back. So we're seaming appropriately for a pillow, because it's going to be on the inside. I'll flip it over and show you what it looks like here. It's pretty darn close to invisible. You don't see it hardly. So I'm happy with it. I think it looks great. So I'm going to go ahead and do that same thing. So remember, I'm just going in the back loop only and seaming these all together all the way up all four. So I'll meet you back once I get that done and we can see what it looks like all together. All right, so we've got everything done. I've worked my seam in the back loops only here and here. So this is going to be the inside of the pillow. Again, If you want it to where you don't see it on either side, look up tutorials on the mattress stitch. This is not that. This is just seaming on the inside of the pillow since it's not going to be seamed. And this is what it looks like on the front. It's very, you might see something peek through here and there, but for the most part, I really don't see it. I would have to like go and bend it to be able to see the seam. And when this is up on a pillow, you're not going to notice it at all because I worked it in the back seams, the back stitches. So it should all be hidden. And this is what the finished product looks like, all seamed together. Now, if you, like I said, if you are making a blanket, definitely look at the mattress stitch. I have done the mattress stitch before, but I'm probably not the best person to, like I said, if you are making the full blanket, look up some tutorials on the mattress stitch. I have done the mattress stitch before, but I'm not super comfortable with it. So probably not the best to do in my tutorial. However, since this is the pillow, I'm okay with that. So that's what we got. We have the front panel done. And join me in the next video where we will be going over making the back panels, which are these. And we will get this all joined together as one pillow. So, thank you so much for tuning in. This video was part 1, which is how to make the square, the quilt motif square, and how to join them together, specifically for the pillow. And then part 2 will be making the backing and piecing the sides together. Look forward to seeing you over in part 2. And thank you so much for stopping. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all the things. And thank you so much for being part of the channel. Have a great day, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.